Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Heart of the Equation. Today, I am sitting with Anisa, and the topic we are going to talk about today is resilience. The reason we chose this topic is that we are in the almost reaching the last quarter of the year, the busiest quarter of the year work wise. It has been a challenging year for a lot of people, and also, generally, 2025, everything that is happening in the world makes it very important to just be strong. Strength, being able to survive a lot of things, a lot of political topics, a lot of economical challenges, and also workload at work, relationship challenges. This is a quality that is very important. It's also something in certain industries that are more fast-paced. It's quite valued. I've even heard that it's even more valued than IQ in some places. So this is why we are going to talk about resilience today. So Anissa, let's get into what resilience means. What do we mean by that?
That is a very good question, Sarah. I see that often resilience is defined not correctly. So many people think resilience is the ability to be tough and never breaking down. And the truth is, the resilience is about the capacity that each person has, about how quickly to load their batteries, how quickly and effectively they can adapt, they can charge their energy, and then keep going. And it is very connected to our nervous system. So, a person who is resilient has also a wide tolerance windows and quite a strong nervous system. And those points, like a nervous system, strong nervous system, and a wide windows of tolerance, really depends on so many factors, starting from where you have been, where you have been born, exactly the moment even that you have been in the womb of your mother,
Yeah.
the countries, the culture that you grow up, schools, and all the events that have happened to each of us. They basically tailored, right, and created who we are, those experiences, and they are kind of integrated to our nervous system. And that is the reason that person being born in a certain country is very different to other person being born in another country, right? And the measure of pressure that they can tolerate as well, it is very, very different.
That was a very good point, actually, what you said earlier. I used to think like that. I think a lot of like resilience is just pushing through, just numb yourself, suppress all the pains you have, just do it. And I actually did that because I was also working in an industry that demanded a lot of resilience. I also, traveled a lot, all of that. But I didn't know that there are better ways to deal with it. And what happened to me that I was going through phases of being really strong, showing up, doing the job. But then suddenly when there was a holiday, I was sick on most of the vacations I had. It's the moment the adrenaline was coming down, I could rest, I would get sick. So it affected me physically back then when I didn't know about this. And this whole thing, like my nervous system was doing its job, but it was not trained to handle this. And this is something I think a lot of us, we didn't learn these things in school. We just relied on our common sense. So yeah, that was sometimes difficult when you don't know how to regulate your nervous system.
That is so true. That is so interesting. So the first time that I heard word resilience, it was in university, but in totally different content. I was maybe 20, something like that, and I was studying engineering, polymer engineering, chemical engineering. And resilience is the point that basically you can imagine there is a curve, right? If you imagine there's a plastic and then there is like a pressure, that there is a curve that go on until a certain point. And that is the resilient point of each polymer or material, right? And that means that from that point, that specific material is able to come back to the initiated, to the baseline status, right? So that is defined as a resilient cycle of that material, that this material can play, go on and back, go on and back. And then after that point, if it continues, the pressure or push or pull, it goes up. And then the danger comes, and there's a point up there called breakdown. And it is totally true when some years after I started to study resilience, stress management, coaching, and all those things, I was like, oh my God, it's like, it's like a material. So our nervous system is exactly also, let's say, designed like other materials, like different materials. People are different as well. Probably you, me, or other people, we don't have the same resilience point. And then break down, but the pattern is quite similar. So when we are under stress, we can go to the certain point, we can tolerate, we can come back, we can even enjoy some stress, right? To have some
Yeah.
adrenaline or some motivation. But when it goes out of the hand, then we go to the breakdown point.
Yeah, yes. And also, with nervous system, they talk a lot about neuroplasticity. It's like our nervous system also has that. They even use the same terms. It's such a good
Right?
metaphor you just used because it works in the same way. We can learn to do a lot of things. So it's like plastic, it's elastic, but there is also a level that we can push it. It also needs practice to be able to endure more. It's not something that happens overnight. You train it. So yeah, this whole top metaphor of plastic also applies to us. This is exactly how we function.
That is absolutely true. So in trauma, let's say field, there is a term called the windows of tolerance.
Hmm.
And windows of tolerance differs from one person to others. And exactly as you mentioned, by practicing, of course, who we are, the experience has shaped those windows of tolerance. But with practicing certain habits or exercises, we can widen that windows of tolerance. And by widen that, we can tolerate, let's say, more stress, right? And then
Yeah.
bring more resilience. And then we bring more resilience, of course, we reduce burnout and we invite also creativity. And that is exactly the reason that I'm sure you have seen that under pressure, high pressure projects, two people react differently
Yeah.
because they have different windows of tolerance.
Yes, exactly. And it's also, there is something. I recently was teaching a master class that was about a different topic. It was about finding your genius, all of that. But one of the topics was how to manage your energy. And the reason I was kind of covering that is that all of these topics are related to each other. There were two scientists, I have forgotten their names, but they've done a lot of work on peak performance in athletes who do like really serious sports, the way they train to do the impossible. The stuff they do is just, I can't even imagine like doing, I don't know what they do. But the way they train is not that they just push, 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 push. The way they train for peak performance is they go through cycles of recovery and a stress. So a little stress is good. Our muscles also need to be challenged. So you push and then there is recovery. Even when we do simple exercise, in the beginning there is some sort of warm up and then you do the real thing, and then at the end of the class there is like some kind of stretch to sort of recover and get back to normal. So we need to respect these cycles. Our bodies, our nervous systems, they work with these cycles. So when we kind of only focus on one, like even people who are too much into the recovery, doing nothing, just being like in the little bubble, doing too much self-care but then not doing all the challenging things, that's a problem. And then it's also a problem with those people who just push, 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 push through, just let's do it. Another night without the sleep, another day without like the right food, and let's just go through this. and then they come to that breaking point. So yeah, these cycles I think are something to pay attention to.
That is so so important what you mentioned, and then it bring me to this point. Maybe we can explain why we need that, how
Yeah,
our nervous system is basically built. So we have sympathetic part, and then we have parasympathetic part of nervous system. Parasympathetic is all about rest and digest, and then sympathetic is about fight and flight. We need both, as you
yeah,
mentioned. We need absolutely both. The important is that when we get to fight and flight, that many times in corporate life, we get there, we need that, that motivation, adrenaline to be able to also make function and take care of the parasympathetic. So do the exercises and develop habits during the day, during the week, that we can allow that rest and digestion. If it is not, as you mentioned, like the athletes, then we get accumulated stress in our body, and that accumulated stress bring to burnout, bring to pains. Shoulder pains is one of the very common ones, back pains, migraines, many of them, if they're not of course physical problems, they're all emotional accumulated, let's say, results, right, that they just come up, pop up like the alarms, and they're a sign of dysregulation of nervous system. And then those people come with the brain fog, poor sleep, and emotional reactivity.
yes, yes. Having like a way to release and process these emotions or whatever we are experiencing is really key to have a routine in the day. And actually, I think somewhere to learn from that are animals. Animals are amazing, maybe because they don't have complex mind, they do not overthink things. But you see, like, when a deer is followed by the lion, you see in these sort of documentaries, the moment the danger is gone, the animal shakes its body and then they forget about it and they get on with their lives. We humans, we rerun the scenario. Oh my God, this nearly happened to me. We think about it. We have nightmares about it. We don't really process our emotions well when the things are happening. And then it just stays with us. And then it kind of gets piled up after a while of doing a lot of it. And I think this is a problem. Part of it is because at least my generation or our generation, we nobody taught us these things. Nobody taught us these things in school, in university. We just learned all the sort of the topic, and then went to work, and then we just had to figure it out.
So
So you know more about these things. What do you recommend to have like a routine of processing our emotions and taking care of our nervous system so that we can be more elastic, we can be more resilient for the long term?
so true what you have mentioned, Sarah. Being from one side a project manager, being in corporate for 14, 15 years, and be also trauma somatic coach, I see both sides of the, let's say, coin.
Yeah,
What is very important, what I teach and what I apply for myself, is awareness.
yeah,
So the first things that has helped me and then help my clients is to bring and invite that awareness, to notice the signs of stress, to notice what is happening in my body, right? As you said, animals, they have that automatically. We need to develop that because we have forgotten that we have a body. Because many systems, many families, many um, schools, many educational systems, they just push to perform, forgetting how we are really functioning as a human being, right? So
yeah,
as we eat, as we take a shower, as it is part of evidence, a need of a human being, also taking care of the nervous system needs to be more evident. As we don't see that, it seems that people are forgetting that. So that awareness that, hey, I have a body, something is happening. I'm reading an email and my heart, beat is just increasing. There is something there. Let me just take a moment, right? So it all starts with an awareness. Okay, I need help.
Mm.
I need to learn how to manage that. So those signs should not be ignored. That is the very, very first step. And once a person decide to do that, come to that path with a simple exercise, with time, they can adjust that nervous system. So that is the very good news. Some people come to me and they are totally like, with the dysregulated nervous system, they say, I don't have any hope. Will I get like before? I'm like, of course. With some will, changing some habits, you can just, go back to the beginning status. But if you do not change anything and you want a quick change, no, there is no hope.
Yeah, yeah. This whole quick fix actually doesn't work in many areas. I think one of the problems these days that we have a lot of content on social media, especially business and career related content, is all about quick growth in some areas, fixing a lot of things on surface level because it helps businesses to maybe create more testimonials, more good reviews, and also the customers, everybody likes quick fixes. We all need to kind of offer some kind of quick wins, but I think sometimes it gets too much and people want quick wins in every area. It
Mhm.
just doesn't work, and it might work for an hour, but you will bounce back to wherever you were. And we are talking about a whole nervous system that has been trained doing the wrong things. You want to sort of
For
unlearn all of
years, right?
those and then go to a different state. That takes time and practice, actually.
Absolutely. It's so relevant what you mentioned. And some patience as well, right?
Yeah.
Just be patient with yourself. And when they say, okay, just tell me something that I can do now, I say, pause. Just pause and then soften. Just
Yeah.
let me for a moment.
Mm.
And that already, even if you're just listening, if you will just like pause and listen and don't force anything, that helps. Even if it is 1, 2 minutes. Even if you're reading an email that makes you angry, just pause. You're not obliged to answer immediately. You're not obliged to react immediately to things. Just pause for a moment. That helps a lot.
Yes, yes, and it's underestimated because most of the time we want to do everything quickly. That's a problem. But a lot of us, we are not firefighters, we are not brain surgeons. I always admire those people who do those kind of jobs because they know how to react quickly.
Absolutely.
But most of the time, a little pause is helpful. It's also something that has helped me, and also I see in clients that everyone knows what really triggers them because people have different triggers. For me personally, disrespectful, overly political behavior, especially it happens in corporate, in business. There are always people who don't feel safe. They want to try other methods of manipulation and playing the victim or creating a drama, like those emails that's they pick something, CC all the big bosses and long email and talking about things that never happened, but they're like the victim of the story. Those were very triggering to me, I remember. And I was like, the moment I would open that long email, my heart was like, oh. But then there were other things that were triggering to other people that didn't really matter to me. So for me, like last minute projects, things going wrong, I always felt like, oh yeah, I can fix this. So this didn't. So everyone needs to know what really is like, what areas really press my buttons and what strategies do I have for that. So when it happens, you know how to take care of yourself in the short term. There's also something I really liked. I actually heard it from a therapist long time ago, and she was explaining about having this little box that we can park our emotions there, because in the day we don't have time to sit down and meditate, all of that. We have to
Right.
go to meetings. So she was telling me that you can put your emotions in a little box and tell yourself it's safe, and then I will get back to process you later when I have time. So it's I think it's called containment. It has a name, this concept. So that was also very helpful to me to kind of pause, put them in the box, do my things, and then later, another day, I would come back and say, like, this is really annoying. How I'm gonna sort of navigate that with this type of emotions when someone and talks to me like that. And also, what makes me get so activated when I see something like that? Because it didn't trigger some of my other colleagues and my
Mhm.
other older colleagues. They would say, "Oh, we're in supply chain. These things are normal. We work with a lot of crazy people." This is like, and I was thinking, oh, there are other ways of doing this.
I love that. And that is kind of because our body, when comes out with signs and alarm us, wants us to do something. So
Yeah,
when we write something or we put it down, it's like, I'm gonna take care of you.
yeah,
And that even calm our nervous system. And I think what is missing in many programs of corporates of well-being, because I have been in corporates working there, I have been also part of well-being programs. What
yeah,
was missing is really talking about how the nervous system is working.
yeah.
Right, what is nervous system, what is the need? And one thing that you mentioned is something that our nervous system just like it and just get calm, that I'm not ignore, let's say, I will be taken care after.
Yeah.
We are coming quite to the end of this episode. I just want to add something and then ask also your opinion, Sarah. I think in this era, the resilience is not soft skill anymore. It is
Yeah.
becoming a really strategic, important skill for performance, for being successful in a project, for leadership, and also long-term sustainability. And that is the reason that I finally launched my LinkedIn newsletter, Resilient Performance. What are your thoughts about that before closing this episode today?
Yeah, I love that. And I think I'm so happy you finally did this because this is something that was, I think, in the pipeline for you for maybe a couple of years, but you were so busy actually. This is much needed. And it's also, my background is in supply chain management. And then everything I did, I had my own business and then coaching and all of these jobs were, or careers, whatever you call it. The key thing was not being the smartest person in the room. The key thing was resilience. And especially if you work in an industry that is fast paced, high adrenaline, so much is going on, it's never quiet. There's always something happening. So if you're not prepared for this, you also preparing yourself for burnout. And I do remember even like among entrepreneurs, also among a lot of people who work in supply chain management, I worked in different levels from the very low to the kind of almost to the upper part of it. The rate of burnout was so high. There was no department, and I worked in very different jobs. There was no department I worked, and I didn't hear this word that this colleague is in burnout. Half of the people I knew, they were in burnout. And I also think I wasn't in burnout because I was very good at suppressing. At some point, it was showing up in other health problems later in my life. So because none of us knew about this sort of topics. But even right now, if somebody wants to step into leadership, do something a little bigger, create some form of impact, which is very nice and rewarding, the most important thing you want to prepare yourself for is resilience, because nothing today is going to hand it over to you in a nice shiny box. You will have success followed by a phase of not very nice things, and then that will be success. So you need this resilience to go through this, you know these phases. This is a very important quality. It is more important than your IQ. This is what keeps you in the game, and what keeps you in the game makes you successful for the long term. That's what I can add. And I'm really happy you launched that newsletter. It's very easy. Everyone can just go to LinkedIn and subscribe to that. I also have actually something free if people are interested. I don't really market too much about it. I just created for some of my clients. No, I made it available. It's called the Resilient Manager System. It really talks about these things. It's like an ebook everyone can download. It's free if you just go to my website. But this is something that I underestimated for many, many years. And I learned the hard way that this is the most important thing. Want to to perform high, be productive, be a successful manager, be a successful leader, you want to be an entrepreneur, want to do a corporate job, whatever you want to do, you need this.
Fantastic. Shall we close the session with a question?
Yes, you asked the question.
I will ask the question from the audience. So, if
Yeah.
you have heard, watched this episode, what will be the small practice that you could commit to it daily for your resilience? Just 5 minutes. Choose one practice that you can stick to that for 5 minutes daily. And then you can send it to us as a comment or PM or emails. We'll be very happy to hearing from you. Thank you so much
Yes.
for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anissa. Yeah, yes, please do that because we also want to learn from you. It's helpful to others to know what tools you use. So let's help each other. Thank you very much. Thank you, Anissa, and see you in the next
Thank
episode.
you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to The Heart of the Equation. If this episode has sparked something for you, we'd love to hear about it.
Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us on LinkedIn and Instagram to continue the conversation.
And if you know someone who is navigating their next career step, share this episode with them. It could be exactly what they need.
We see you next time as we explore more about leading with purpose, resilience, and authenticity.
Let's keep growing together.